Now we're talking about BibleWorks buttons. There are two sets of buttons. Your first set is up here at the top, which they've simplified in BibleWorks 8 to some extent. And your second set is down here in the editor, and you have a similar set like this one in the editor in your notes. Okay? Now, because I've already fixed the editor, I have already reordered the buttons versus the defaults, as you can see here in the editor. But I haven't done that in the notes. So you see there are two separate configurations of buttons. So you can have different sets of buttons in the editor versus the notes. Generally speaking, you're going to want to configure them the same, and you have to do it by hand each time. So I guess you could say we have three sets of buttons. The notes buttons, which are the same potential options as for the editor, and then you also have buttons up here. There's a sort of a subset up here in your browse window. See where it says show more buttons? So these are the total number of buttons that you can have in the browse window. Okay, so I guess now I have to say 4 sets of buttons. But the good news is that all the buttons are the same kinds of buttons. You just don't have access to all the buttons in each option. So we're going to go through that. Maybe I should start right here. Your browser window buttons, what do they mean? Well, first of all, you got to show them. Okay? Now, they tell you there are little tooltips if you have your tooltips enabled in the options, which we went through in the option flags. Do you want your tooltips? That sign that you see, sometimes Windows glitches and the sign doesn't show up right away. See, like that says toggle browse mode, and that's browse window options. Okay, so that if you want the browse window options to show, toggle means you can turn it on and off. You can turn the word tips on and off. You can turn your version notes on and off. You can clear your hits, you know, because I haven't gone through hit highlighting yet. That's where you code the color so that whatever search you made, it's going to show in a different color. You can make your Strong's numbers show or not show. And then you have other options. Some people, I can't imagine who, do not want you to be able to make those choices. So you see where that little check is? If you uncheck it, you will not be able to do this. If you uncheck, well, let me see the little check mark there above browse window options. If you uncheck that, you won't have any browse window options. So obviously you want to keep it checked. This little button here, and you'll see that it's repeated here and here, okay, is to allow the browse mode to be on or off. Now see, if what I just did is I clicked the button, and now only the NAU, the New American Standard 1995 version, is showing. That's so that I can scroll through it and see the English. Okay? But if I want to see my favorites, and I'll have to cover how you do favorites in another video, this particular favorite that I have set up is the basic favorite, and it only shows the basic Hebrew, the basic transliteration of the Hebrew, the one particular Greek critical edition that I like, which is BibleWorks' own critical edition, which is roughly similar to the LXX and the UBS 4, aka the NA27 for the New Testament. And I like the NAU version because it capitalizes the Old Testament quotes in the New Testament. I like the KJV because it's literal even when it's wrong. In other words, they tend to translate the same word the same way pan Bible, and that's very helpful. And then I like the NIV for thought translation. Some people like ESV. I don't see enough difference between them to switch. And then I like the Latin because I like to see how the Vulgate, because this is Jerome's translation mostly, not always. I like to see how he translated it. Jerome didn't understand the Bible, but he was good at translating it. So that's my basic. That's what I use every day. And then when I want to get into it, I created other favorites for exegesis, English only when I want to compare English translations, French only when I want to compare French translations because I read French, German only because I want to learn German better. I didn't learn it when I had the opportunity. Indonesian I'm doing for somebody else. Foreign, that's a collection of foreign languages. Spanish only because I read Spanish, and Italian only because I read Italian. All right, that doesn't mean I can speak Spanish pretty well after about an hour, and French too after about an hour. But these other languages I can pretty much only read. All right, don't ask me to speak them, I'll make your ears hurt. All right, so those are favorites that I personally set up, and I'll show you in future videos how you can do that. It's kind of a pain, but boy oh boy, once you get them set up, you're going to love it. So right now we're in basic. All right, now if I just want to look at the English, I hit this thing, and that's toggling the browse mode, so I can browse in English because that's my native tongue, okay, in order to more quickly find a verse or a passage that I learned. Okay, and it doesn't have to be the NASB version. You set that up in favorites as to what's your default. But most of the time, this is how I do it. You see me do it this way in the videos. Alright, the next one is you choose your display version. In this case, my display version is the NAU, and I can just go to the NAU and right click and change it. Alright, I don't often do this. I don't often use this. I have used it in the videos. You've seen me use it, but I don't often use it. The other way you can do it is you can click on this button here, which I never use that. Okay, but that means you can customize your favorites on the fly without changing your default favorites. In other words, I don't want to go into favorites and change them. I just don't want all these versions to show, so I can uncheck any of the boxes here, or I can, change which English I want to display here, or I can add other languages here. Okay, so that might be helpful to you. All right, your next one is to change the version display order. In other words, I've got it displaying with the right up here. I've got the Hebrew transliteration first, which I prefer because sometimes I'm too sleepy or something, and the Hebrew, some days I look at the Hebrew characters and they're just as clear to me as English. Some days I look at them and I can't even figure them out. I don't know why that happens. So I use this to more quickly find the word I'm looking for in the Hebrew. All right, and then here's the Greek, which I can read that even in my sleep. And then here are the English versions, and this is the order I've set them up in. It's a real pain to do this, but once you do it, you're going to love it. I'll be showing you that when I show you how to construct favorites. But let's say I want to just change the order now. All right, well, I can just change it now without having to change my favorites. So that's the purpose of this 1, 2, 3 button here, is to let you change the order in which the display shows. And then this button here allows you to change your search limits. Now remember, in the search limits option flags, I had told you to select the 4.0 button bar. That's what this is. It's the 4.0 button bar. It is not the BibleWorks default. The BibleWorks default is this long, annoying scrolling thing. This used to be in version 4. That was the first version of BibleWorks I ever bought back in 2001. And it's the best way to click or unclick the books that you want to search on. All right? So you want to have that because you might want to change your search limits. All right? You can also access it by doing this. Up here, down here at the bottom in the status window. Well, it doesn't work while I'm recording. I keep forgetting that. All right? So you want that button. Okay? And then this next button here allows you again to choose your search version. All right, if you want to change your search version. See, right now my search version is set up on this. All right, which I already have. All right, then this is to turn the Strong's numbers on and off. See what happens when you do that? You got Strong's numbers in the NA27. I hate Strong's. See, that turned them on. All I did is I clicked on this, turned Strong's reference numbers on and off. It's a toggle. And so if you're addicted to Strong's, or you grew up on Strong's and you're trying to wean off, well, then here you can just do it as a toggle. I never learned Strong's numbers, and I never intend to. Then this button, and remember the buttons are the same up here at the top as they are here. You just don't get access to so many of them. you can show or unshow the analysis window. And I often do that because, like, let's say I wanted to turn this off so I could read a whole bunch of text without the analysis window, which used to be called the auto info window. Well, I can do that. If I want to turn it back on, I just turn it back on. You see me do that a lot in the videos. And this is to turn your version notes on or off. Now that, in this case, the version is talking about this version of the text. Okay, so that A there is saying that there is a note by the translators of the NAU about this verse. Alright, so if you wanted to see that, those are the notes. See? There's a note there. That's written by the NAU translators. With your version notes on, you can see the note. With your version notes off, you can't see the note. So version notes are the same thing as translator notes. Alright, and so you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen that the one is meaning one thing. Okay? And then in Psalm 66, that's saying that verse ties to this one. And Amos 4:2 also ties. So turning your version notes on and off while you're reading might be an important thing to do. Alright? And then this is that stupid copy window, this stupid thing. Okay? Which, you know, you're better off using your options. Okay? But if you have them already set, then maybe you don't want that. So apparently other users other than me like this small window, which I think is totally useless. Anyway, and then you just hit copy and it'll go with your defaults. The trouble is you see the only verse in the window is Psalm 89:35. So that's all it's going to copy. That's why I don't think this is a good so-called upgrade in BibleWorks 8. I don't like it. Alright, so those are what those buttons are. Now, the same thing is true down here and in your notes. Alright, so we've seen what the buttons up here for your browse window do. And when you export your browse window, I should show that. If you wanted a second browse window, that preserved your last setting. See, I've just basically duplicated the same window with the same settings. And then you can turn them off here, but they don't turn them off in your main window. Alright, and what they leave are these buttons, but you can even turn off those buttons. You can't turn off those buttons. You can't turn off those buttons. You can turn off the browse list box, which then looks like that. I don't recommend you do that. Or you can turn off the outline heading. The outline is really kind of useful. That's, you know, it's a standard, I forget whose it is, but there's some standard scholar that did this outline of the Bible and they incorporated it. Alright, and you can go anywhere in the Bible using that. Like I just went to Psalm 112 even though I didn't want to. So we want to go back to Psalm 89. And we want to go back to verse 35, which is where I was. Alright. So you can turn them off or on in the second browse window if you want. You can make it, but the default is going to be the same as your settings when you invoke the browse window. Alright. That's so much for these buttons. I usually don't show them because I can choose them on the fly. Okay, so now here we are. This is the editor where I've reconfigured the notes. I've reconfigured all these buttons. There are a lot of buttons to choose from, and I've reconfigured them all. So instead of using that to show you how to reconfigure them, I'm going to go to the notes window, which has the same buttons. You see this pink thing here? It means that there are more buttons to show. This is a pain in the neck. Okay, they have to do it this way. So is there a way that you can fix it so that you don't have to do that? And the answer is yes. The answer is this one. See here it says all buttons? You just click that and now you have all the buttons showing. Okay, this is their default order of the buttons. Okay, I don't like that default order. Now maybe you do. That's up to you. But if you want to change the default order, you see where it says customize button bar here? This sort of triangle of buttons. You click that and you get a little dialog box. Okay, your default will not have this closed document in it. In your default, that is already there. Alright? So in your default, it's going to look like this. Okay, except that this button is in a different order. I forget where it was. Alright, so I want to change the order of the buttons. This is something you got to get used to in BibleWorks because you have so many options. Because you have so many options, you have to literally go through each one by hand. Okay, so like what if you wanted to move your option for all the buttons to the end? Alright, then you can click move down, and if you look at the middle of the screen while I'm doing it, look at the middle of the screen, look down here in this part of the screen. Watch how when I click move down, it's going to move, you're going to see it move that down. See? Look in the middle of the screen, it's moving the button. You can see exactly where it's moving it as I go. See, like right now it's between the two arrows, the two undo and redo arrows. And right now it's just after the blue A that's in the middle of the screen. So you can see the movement and you can target it where you want it to go. So now I've moved it all the way to the end, just after the big X. That you can do with each one of these buttons. You just move them where you want them. I like to move my buttons so that they're grouped by kind of thing I do. Like if you're saving, saving is like opening, saving is like a new document, stuff like that. And if you don't like what you did, or you just can't remember, you're sick of it, you can hit the reset button and it resets the order to the initial default. And then of course you close when you're done. Alright, so what do each of these options do? This button invokes all the buttons so that you don't have that stupid pink arrow. This is to customize the button bar, which we just saw. Okay, this allows you to set your editor options. Okay, and you know, it's pretty straightforward what each one of those things means, so I'm going to let you figure that out on your own. Otherwise it'll take me too long to make all these videos. Okay, this is how you want your BibleWorks editor to function. Okay, so I'm going to leave this. I've never had to change these. I don't even bother with it. Okay, so I just click OK. And now my computer is slowing down, so I'm going to end it right now before it exits without my wanting it to. Okay, back again. The whooshing sound you hear in the background is my fan because it's so hot. We were last on this, configuring the BibleWorks editor buttons. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward. Here, do you want to open the last file at startup? Do you want to save and restore the file state that you were in case it crashes? Do you want to enable verse pop-ups? You know, because like if you're quoting a verse, do you want it to actually show the verse? Even if all you do is use a citation, it'll show the verse pop-up using your browser window while you're looking at it, which is kind of helpful. Do you want to renumber the file on change? I'm not sure what that does. Use tab shift tab to promote. I don't know what that does. Hide word when pasting. That's probably useful in case you're using Word as your export word processor, because what you can do is use the editor directly in Word, and that kind of makes sense. But other than that, I don't use it, so I don't really know. Enable autosave. You might want to check that as a yes if you have a system that crashes. Okay. These are the table settings, and I don't know what they do because I don't use this. Alright, and the column widths and stuff like that. This is obviously so that you can set a default table size and width, and since I've never used it, I don't know how good it is. You might want to change this. My preferred font for almost everything is either Cambria or Calibri. Calibri is used in Word 2.07 and following as your default font. Cambria is much better than Times Roman, so I like to use Cambria in all of my correspondence. I own a business, and that's pretty much what I prefer to use. The next preference that I have, and this is for stuff that's clear on screen and clear in printed text. The next preference I have is going to be Franklin Gothic Medium. I use that especially in Excel. Usually 9 points makes it really clear. And then my next default, and you may have to figure out how you're going to get this, is Gill Sans. That's my absolute favorite all-time font. It's got the darkest setting, the clearest differentiation. I try to use it as a default for all of my web pages, but not everybody's machine has Gill Sans, and I'm not sure how you download it. I had it from Windows 98 and Windows 95 because I have a lot of machines, so I just imported it. So if you have an old Windows 98 machine, you'll probably have that font on there, or Windows 95 machine, you'll have that font on there. Or if you have old disks, you'll have that. You'll also have it in WordPerfect and early versions of Word. It will be a font in those versions. So if you have old diskettes from those programs, then you can just download it from your old diskettes. So my default, generally speaking, is going to be Gill Sans, and preferably in 11 points. That tends to be best. And then you can encode your Word processor to export the font with the document. That's usually in your options. Depends on the word processor you use. With Word, it's in your Save tab when you do your Word options, in Tools Options in Word. Okay, so that's what I prefer there. And then this is the BibleWorks Greek font, but you can use Unicode if you want. Same thing for Hebrew. These are both BibleWorks fonts. And those are usually the right settings. BW Greek should probably be 14, and BW Hebrew should be 18 to 22. Okay, and then here's your Arial Unicode, which 10 is kind of too small. And then Hebrew Unicode, they like Ezra, and that's pretty common on the internet. 12 I think is too small. Okay, and then these are your keyboards, and I don't know why they specify those keyboards. Okay, so that's what this button did. All right, then this is if you want a new document, that sort of just blank page. That's pretty standard Windows. Open existing, that's standard Windows. Save and reopen floating. If you want your BibleWorks notes to be floating windows instead of stuck here at the bottom, then that's what you do. See, it makes it now a floating window. I really like floating windows. Okay, so I like that button a lot. All right. Then that's to save it, and it gives you an option to save it just as is when you do it that way. But you can also do save file as, and I recommend you do that so that you can save the file somewhere else. Okay, on your hard drive. Because like I said before, if BibleWorks crashes due to a registry problem, you will not be able to know where your notes are. You won't be able to know. And you can't just copy back the files. That doesn't work because they have to be registered, unfortunately. That's not BibleWorks' fault. That's Windows. Windows is a terrible system, and they've never fixed that premise about the registry. That's the worst flaw in Windows and the reason why I hate using it. Okay, this little button here, I'm not going to use it, where it's got the X within a circle. That's to clear everything you've typed in the document, or to clear everything you've typed in the document. See, clear text in current document. See, like here, let me show you. I don't know why it's not working. I don't know why I can't type in the window. That's got to be some kind of glitch owing to recording. But if you were to type in the window, and I don't know why it won't type. If you were to type in the window, then this will clear the text that's there. And then you get this warning, and you say yes. Okay? I don't know why I can't type. It must be some kind of key conflict. It is not as easy to record with BibleWorks 8 as it is with BibleWorks 5, so I probably won't be doing future videos using BibleWorks 8, unfortunately. This is if you wanted to insert a bitmap from the file, some kind of picture. I don't use bitmaps, so I don't use this option. If you wanted to find, but of course I can't make that work because I can't type in the video. So I don't know, you'll have to type something and practice this on your own. This is for finding. This is for finding a specified string. This lets you find it in all of your files. So in all your BWW files, you can, do that. Alright, this is to find specified text. This button is to find and replace text that you've got in the file. This is to cut the clipboard, and again, I'm sorry I can't demonstrate these since I can't type in the window. This is to copy something that you've got in here to the clipboard. You can cut it to the clipboard. This is to copy it to the clipboard. This is to paste it from the clipboard. Okay? This is to print. This is to choose which directory you want to get for your notes. This obviously formats text to bold, and I can't show these to you because I can't type in them. Italic, underline. If you wanted to show strikeout, in other words, you have something typed but you want to show a blue line that's showing that you're striking it out. That's like if you're comparing notes with somebody else and you're both editing in the same document. You want to show what you want to strike out. This is to undo the last change, redo the last change. Left align text, centered, right align text, bulleted. It's just like standard word processor kind of options. This is typing right to left. You need that for Hebrew. Typing left to right. You need that for Greek, even though Greek used to be right to left also. Decrease the indentation, increase the indentation. As you can see, you can just read this. If you have your tooltips turned on, you can just read what these are. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to do that. Okay, and in the next increment we're going to go through the upper buttons that are up here, since I can't really explain all of what these buttons are because I can't show them to you in the text. So you're going to have to learn them and experiment with them on your own. Okay, so that's where we'll pick up in the next increment.